All right, welcome to another episode of Frags and Beer Radio News, our Tuesday show where we talk about last week in geek and the different things that have been coming out, whether it be controversies online or cool movies we've seen or really cool tech that's coming out. So we're going to touch on some of that tonight. I'm joined just by Russell Michaels as usual, my guest host. Welcome, Russell.
Hello! Because we couldn't find anybody who had also seen The Killing Joke.
Right, yeah, we were pretty limited because, that's going to be the meat of our show, and I'll let you know now. We'll let you know when we get into it. We're probably going to talk about spoilers, definitely.
Yeah.
Can't really talk too much about the movie because this is not a review show. We're not going to review the movie. We're going to talk about the cool stuff we saw in the movie and the things we didn't like and the things we loved and everything else. So we'll let you know before we start that, but before we get to that, we're going to talk about really cool things I saw. Russell and I talked about, and some neat little tidbits. The first couple things are like related stories that I thought were really cool. I found these on a news feed, and they're both robotics, which I love, and they both have to do. And sorry, you're hearing my Skype pop, and apologize for that little burp. But anyway, these two little stories. One of them is the first FAA-approved drone has made a delivery in the United States. Surprisingly enough, they delivered food from a 7-Eleven to a family who was working at home, which is really cool. They delivered sandwiches and Slurpees to a home in, I believe it was in Vegas, somewhere in Nevada. Just landed this stuff in these people's backyard so that they could have lunch delivered by drone from their local 7-Eleven.
If you're going to go to lunch, why do you get lunch at 7-Eleven?
I don't know, but that's just so cool. Like you said here, they said they both... I'm reading the story on Robotic Trends, so if you want to check it out, robotictrends.com, and this story came out... just July 22nd. But yeah, the family says they were working at home. They have 3 small children. They couldn't go anywhere. They needed food. I guess they didn't have anything they wanted to eat at home or didn't have anything to eat at home. So yeah, they got a hold of 7-Eleven, and 7-Eleven delivered lunch to their house via drone, which is just kind of cool. I think that's a great little story.
So the thing is, 7-Eleven usually doesn't deliver.
Right.
Unless you use one of those apps that delivers food from places that don't deliver.
Right, yeah.
I've never used it because I don't live in a big enough city to make that a problem. But, I'm just surprised that they went with 7-Eleven for the first one. I just get past it. Of all the places to get delivered. Now, Slurpee, if it was just a Slurpee, that's fine. But
yeah.
It was a whole lunch. So
right.
Like, really, you had hot dogs from 7-Eleven delivered.
Have a drone bring you a Slurpee. Like, how freaking cool is that? I
know,
a
it's
drone.
a chicken sandwich, donuts, hot coffee, candy, and Slurpees.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I imagine that would take multiple trips. I don't think the drone did it in one.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't specify here, but I just thought that was cool. I just read the headline and I'm like, are you serious? This is really kind of neat. Like, sure, it's 7-Eleven, but that's kind of cool. And going onto that, which is cool, but also a little bit more, a little bit scarier. NASA has given the Curiosity rover. Now, I didn't know this. I did not know the Curiosity rover is armed with a laser, and not just like a laser light. Like, it's armed with a cutting laser. And recently...
I think they took the risk of Skynet happening because it's on Mars.
Yeah. They have given the Curiosity rover free rein without human interaction to start using its laser.
To identify minerals.
Right, yeah. It's using it to cut... It looks like it's using it to cut rock samples and do some mineral excavation, which is awesome. I mean, that's really cool. There's really cool technology, but they have given the decision-making power to a robot to use a weapon. In this case, it's a tool, but every tool is a weapon. Every weapon's a tool in most cases. So it's just kind of it's one of those things where you're on the fence about, like, this is really awesome. Like, here we got a robot making decisions to use its own laser and cut rock and stuff, but then we have a robot making its own decisions to use a laser that can cut rock. Like, that's kind of creepy, right?
Much longer will the Curiosity rover be able to operate in the first place?
That's a good question. Isn't it? I believe the thing is solar powered, isn't it? I don't know if this article covers it. Now, anybody listening, or if you're watching the thing, I'm reading the article in Daily Mail. It came out on July 22nd, and it doesn't cover. It doesn't say here what it is, but that is a very good question. So we would look up rover longevity, I suppose.
Curiosity rover longevity.
Yeah.
I imagine they've gotten better at it, but we'll see.
Yeah, it says it could outlive its lifespan on space.com. Looking on space.com, the Mars rover could far outlive its lifespan, or outlive our lifespan. Expected to last. Oh, it says here that the mission is expected to last 2 years. So the mission itself was only supposed to go for 2 years, but the rover itself could last quite a lot longer, it says here. It's powered by plutonium. That's right, because I remember somebody said something about a nuclear powered. This thing's the size of a truck. It's nuclear powered. It's got a laser. It looks like the scientists can expect to get 10, 12, or 15 years out of it. So the mission's only 2 years, but this thing is expected to run for the next 10 to 15 years. All by itself. So that, I guess that begs the question is, once the mission is over, what happens if the rover decides it wants to keep using its laser and draw shit on Mars?
We could have a chair-faced Chippendale situation.
Yeah.
Does anyone actually get that reference? That's the question.
Hard to say.
Yeah. Do you get that reference?
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't.
In the show The Tick, there's a villain called Chair-Faced Chippendale. His face is literally a chair.
Gotcha.
He decides to use a laser to write his name on the moon.
Okay.
He unfortunately only gets the first 3 letters, so he gets Cha. And at one point in the series, they eventually, and it's an animated show. For the rest of the series, that's up in the sky every time there's a night sequence.
Oh,
and
very cool.
Eventually, at one point, they're able to try to fix it, but they only end up getting rid of the C.
Awesome.
The rest of the series, Ha is just in the sky every time you see the moon.
Very nice. Yeah, that's one of those series that I need to get into. I've got so much stuff that I watch and so many things I'm trying to catch up on.
They're bringing it back on Amazon.
I had heard, and I've heard that.
His costume looks a little weird.
Yeah.
He probably didn't want to just wear spandex. So.
That happens, unfortunately. You get new shows or reimaginings of shows. You get things that are not exactly what you expected. And I guess that wonderful segue right into our next big bit of news at San Diego Comic-Con. This is lackluster news for me. Like, this is really exciting and it's a sour pill to swallow. On the other hand, for me, because we got a Star Trek Discovery teaser, so to speak, and even from what I've read, the teaser may not be entirely accurate because the ship in the teaser may not be the final design of the actual Starship Discovery. So.
It looks shiny, that's for sure.
It does. It looks good, and this is the first thing I noticed. And because I'm an old guy, I actually watched the first runs. I didn't watch the original runs. I'm not that old, but I didn't watch the original runs of the original series. But when the original series was in syndication, back when I was a kid, my folks watched it all the time. Like, you could watch it pretty much every Sunday. We watched it, and then there was, and this is from my love of Star Trek, there was a Star Trek Phase 2 that was planned, which was supposed to be sort of a sequel series that never actually happened. But if you look up Star Trek Phase 2 Enterprise and look at the shape of the ship that they planned, it's a really bizarre looking ship that they plan to use for the Phase 2 Enterprise. But the Starship Discovery from this new show looks so much like it's clearly, undeniably inspired by the Phase 2 show that was supposed to come out in the early 70s, but never actually got out of the early planning stages. But the sour note, I guess, to this, and some of you may know this, some of you may not know this, but what CBS is doing with this really kind of pisses me off, because they're going to give us the pilot show on CBS on regular network TV. And then every other episode after that is going to come out on their premium pay CBS Prime channel, whatever the hell it's going to be called.
So they're launching their version of HBO, basically.
Pretty much. So that means you're going to get to see one episode, and then if you really like that episode, you're either going to have to wait for the series to come out on disc, which usually happens like a year later, depending on the network, or you're going to have to pay them $10 a month or whatever the hell they decide to price it at to watch the rest of the series. And that, to me, is pretty shitty of CBS. Like that.
I imagine, much like a lot of the shows on the other pay channels, it'll be heavily pirated.
Oh, it will be. And as much as
Game
I'm
of
against,
Thrones is the most heavily pirated show in the world.
Yep. And as much as I'm against pirating, I can understand why it's going to happen, because that's a shitty move. And now I'm not going to participate. I'll either wait for the discs, or I'll pay for a month. I'll do what we did with Game of Thrones this last month. I paid for a month of HBO for $15, and I watched Game of Thrones until I was finished with it, and then we canceled our HBO subscription.
You mean HBO Go?
No, actually, we did it through the Roku. The Roku has its HBO channel, and you can sign up. We paid $15, and then we canceled at the end of the month, and we watched we waited until it was over, so of course we had to try to avoid all the spoilers online and all that business. But then we watched all, 12 episodes of Game of Thrones all in one shot, and then we were done.
Yeah. Important point here.
Yeah.
Where in the original timeline is this series supposed to take place? Have they announced that yet? They announced that it's taking place in the original timeline, not the new movie's timeline.
From what I understand, and let me see if I can find it. Now, for you guys listening at home, I'm reading TrekMovie.com, July 21st article. And they said that it's going to, the registry of the ship is the NCC 1031, and it is set in the Prime timeline. From my understanding of the way the timeline has split after the new series, is the Kelvin timeline is the new movies. When the USS Kelvin met the mining ship and caused the fracture in time, and then the Prime timeline is our normal time.
Yes.
So it's going to happen then, and I'm fairly certain, and this makes sense looking at the ship itself. If you look at the ship, this is pre-Next Generation. I'm not sure if it happens after the original series movies, which would have been 7 was the Undiscovered Country. It was the last original series movie. I don't know if it's happening after Undiscovered Country, or if it's happening between the original series and the motion picture, or somewhere in between.
When did the Klingon War happen?
That is a great question, because the Klingon stuff, because the original series and then Enterprise tried to explain why the Klingons look different between the original series and Next Generation.
Makeup.
Yeah. Well, there was a disease. They said the Klingons from the original series that didn't have the head ridges were suffering from some sort of mutation due to genetic modifications, is why they didn't have the head ridges. And they were sort of like rogue Klingons, and then Enterprise kind of explained it a little bit, where they had Klingons that had the head ridges and Klingons that didn't, and it made sense. They did a fairly good job of trying to explain something that really didn't make a lot of sense to begin with. But as far, I don't know when I'd have to look that up. I don't have it right on the tip of my tongue, but
yes, it's called the augment virus.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, because they were mixed with the same genetic modification stuff that Khan's people were mixed with, and they tested it on Klingons, and that's what it did to them. Is it changed their makeup and their look to look more human, to look more like Mongols from Earth's past, as opposed to Klingons, which is kind of funny, because every time you see them on screen in the original series, they look like extras from an old B movie about the Mongols invading Rome. So yeah, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. It hasn't said yet, but it's clear from the design of the ship that this is going to be an older, it's going to be closer to the original series. Also by the designation, because other than the Enterprise carrying the 1701 all the way through, Next Generation, the movies and all that. Every ship, like if you see other ships, newer ships during the Next Generation series, they all have like 5 and 6 digit designation numbers. All the 4-digit designation numbers, in this case 1031, are all from like the original series era ships. So I have a feeling that this is going to fall before Next Generation, and probably a lot closer to the original series than any of the other shows we've seen.
Well, wasn't Kirk in the first Next Generation movie?
He was in Star Trek Generations.
And he died, right?
Yeah, he died. There was as something that Star Trek uses all the time. There was a rift or a tear in the space-time continuum.
So how far apart are they in the timeline? How far are they supposed to be?
Quite a bit, actually. I believe it's well over 100 years.
Oh, so he just got thrown forward into the future and died.
Yes, the Enterprise went through, and I haven't seen Generations in a long time, but there's a tear. Well, Kirk gets stuck on like this alternate time bubble reality where he's on this planet where everything's perfect for him and he has horses and a ranch and everything's awesome, and he's stuck there while time keeps moving in the normal universe. His time kind of stops, and then the Enterprise sort of encounters him in this time bubble where he's not aging. So you're led to believe that he's been stuck there since some mission after Undiscovered.
After he met God.
Yeah. Because I think it was.
Yeah, my knowledge of the Star Trek movies, other than the ones I've seen, I've only seen like 4 or 5 of them, is William Shatner's 2 memoirs about his life, and when I found out he met God in the one that I believe Shatner directed, it's like they kind of jumped the shark with that one.
Right, and it was. I've seen them all, and I'm watching them. And this is what's really going to throw me off with this new series. Is I decided a couple of years ago that I was going to watch Star Trek chronologically, because I've seen them all, but I have not seen them all together. I skipped episodes. Some episodes I watched out of order. I saw the original series, but it was so long ago I don't remember all of it. So I decided I was going to sit down and watch them, not in the order that they were released, but in the order that they're supposed to happen chronologically. And I finished Enterprise, and I'm currently almost done with Next Generation, but I'm in the overlap where DS9 and Next Generation happened together, where they actually ran for a year together on TV. So I'm watching those back and forth, and I'm almost done with Next Generation. But next year this new series is going to come out, which is chronologically going to happen before Next Generation, as best I can tell. And it's just going to throw all that out of whack. That's going to be interesting. But as far as your timelines go, we have, let's see, Star Trek Season 3, Wrath of Khan, Undiscovered Country. The time frame for Undiscovered Country is 2293. And then the Next Generation Season 1 is supposed to happen in 2364. So you're talking 75 years between the last original series movie and the Next Generation first episode. So it'll be interesting to see where Discovery falls. I hope that CBS does something a little better than just, dropping it on us on their pay channel. I don't know. I'm really disappointed in that because it's Star Trek. It should be available to as many people as possible, and unfortunately, it's not going to be, and that sucks. What I do like, before we move on, I just want to make sure, I do like that now Star Trek's TV shows have always been episodic. While the whole season usually covers a large story arc, each episode can pretty much be watched as a single unit. You get a beginning, a middle, and an end. The story concludes. And while the characters' overall stories continue from episode to episode, their interactions and their stories and their personal things and all of that continues on. Each episode is pretty much a self-contained unit. And in this one, they're saying that rather than doing an episodic TV show, they're going to do one that's more like a novel told chapter by chapter. So it's going to be more like what we're seeing with Netflix shows like Daredevil, for instance, where every episode leads right into the next episode. Yeah. And if you don't watch them in order, you're going to be lost. So that's going to be a little unusual to see in a Star Trek show. I like that idea a lot. And that also is another reason why I'm really upset that they're doing it the way they're doing it, because the more I hear about it, the more I'm excited about this new show. And then I'm like, well, I'm going to have to wait to watch, just like all the other good shows on HBO and Showtime and Stars that I like. I'm going to have to wait to watch them because I'm not going to pay extra to see them, which kind of sucks, but that's what you get, right?
Oh, goodness, yeah. I looked on the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, starting with the 6th season of The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine started.
Yes.
And then they continued on.
Yep, and then at the end of DS9, the last year of DS9, Voyager started. So when I get to the last season of DS9, I'm also going to have... What I'm doing is actually...
timeline... Voyager Season 1 started in the Season 3 of Deep Space Nine.
Really? Thank you.
I'm looking at the timeline article on Wikipedia.
Well,
it's confusing. That's just confusing.
It is. What's really nice, though, and for anybody that wants to do it the way I'm doing it, or you may already know this if you're a big Trekkie. I'm sort of a Trekkie. I'm not a huge Trekkie. I don't know everything there is to know about Star Trek, but I do pay attention. So if you are interested in doing it the way I'm doing it, if you go to Memory Alpha, which is the Star Trek wiki, and you go to episodes, if you go to the very first episode of Enterprise, it will be you'll see them numbered as like, this is the first episode of Enterprise, this is the 3rd episode, blah blah blah, but all the way at the bottom it says this is the first episode of like 700 and something. And if you click next, it'll take you to the next episode. Well, right now the way it's working is I watch a DS9 episode and I click next on that very bottom marker. It takes you through chronologically. The next episode might be a DS9 episode. It might be a Next Generation episode, depending on when they aired and when they occur in the timeline. So the wiki's been really useful for me for doing this, because I want to make sure I follow the story along, because it does matter. Every once in a while, the Enterprise crew and the DS9 crew, their stories cross over. Either they get a visit from one crew or the other, or they hear about something that happens to one of the other crews, and if you've watched an episode out of order, it may not make a lot of sense because they'll refer to something you haven't seen yet. So yeah, if you're interested in doing that, go to Memory Alpha and look at the episode guide. It'll walk you through chronologically, and that's pretty much how I've kept on top of when I should watch a DS9 episode, when I should watch a Next Generation episode during the overlap. And thanks for letting me know that it was season 3. I thought it was the last season of DS9.
Yeah, you can just look at the Wikipedia article. It's confusing.
Yeah, it's
also technically you'd have to watch the new trilogy before you watch any of the other things if you're watching chronologically.
True, because they split
all of those
off.
Take place earlier, but they're not in the same timeline, so you'd be excused.
Yeah.
Except for the one flashback that technically is one of the last events in the series.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then you got those episodes where they go back and it's Star Trek love playing with their timelines.
Confusing.
They do.
So do you want to talk about you want to talk about the big news?
Yes.
We all came here to talk
about
this.
So we're getting into it. So anybody who has not seen The Killing Joke or does not want anything spoiled, you may want to watch the recorded episode after you see The Killing Joke.
It's coming out on DVD, on Blu-ray next Tuesday.
So wait till next.
If you pre-order it on Amazon, you can have it by tomorrow night.
Very nice. So if you're watching now and you want to wait, get your pre-order in, get your DVD tomorrow, and then watch the recorded episode.
You'll get it next Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well,
it comes out. Way Amazon does pre-orders, you get it the day it comes out.
That's right. I remember that with the book. So so we're going to talk about spoilers. So The Killing Joke, dude. Did you read the graphic novel before you went to see it?
Yes, I read it about a week before I saw it.
Okay, so it's pretty fresh in your mind. Okay, that's good, because there are some differences.
Small ones.
Yes.
Except for the beginning little scene there. There's only like a couple changes.
Yes. And that's actually a really big point I wanted to make, because on the one hand, I get why they did it. I get why, and here come the spoilers. I get why the first 20 minutes or so.
It wouldn't have been a feature-length movie if it.
That's one reason. That's a very important reason because it would have only been about 45 minutes to an hour long.
It was only, and to be honest, it was actually only about an hour.
Was it hour? Yeah, it was hour and 15, hour and 20 or something like that. Yeah, I guess if you kind of, because I really loved, and I'm thinking yours probably did too. Did yours have the intro with Mark Hamill?
Yeah, I didn't know that was starting before the movie time, so I got into the theater and it was already playing.
Oh God!
For some reason, my theater started it before the showtime.
Oh, that'd be beating.
So I missed probably about the first 4 or 5 minutes. I got there as he was talking about Luke Skywalker can't do the Joker.
The first part, and I hope this is in the DVD or at least in the DVD extras.
I mean, it'd be stupid not to put it on.
The intro with Mark Hamill was awesome. I really loved hearing him talk about how he got into it and all of that. But the first 20 minutes or so, 15 to 20 minutes of the movie, is about Barbara Gordon as Batgirl and her interaction with Batman. And I get that there's a couple of reasons they did it. Obviously, to make it a feature-length film because The Killing Joke's not a long book. It's not much
48 pages.
Yeah,
like that.
It's not much longer than a standard comic book, so it's really not a huge story. It's a pretty quick story, but it's very impactful in Batman's mythos. It's impactful in Joker's mythos, and it's a huge milestone in comic books. I don't care who you are, whether you dislike or like it or protest it, whatever you say about it. If you look up anywhere, if you go to ask anybody who knows anything about comics, the top 10 comics that anybody should read, The Killing Joke is always number 1 or number 2. Google the shit out of it. It's in every top 10 list, and it's always number 1 or number 2 of the comic books.
What occasionally beats it, other than Watchmen?
It's usually Watchmen. Yeah. He's usually the one that beats it, yeah.
Yeah, Alan Moore is very prolific, isn't he?
Right. I mean, there's very few milestones in comic book history because...
I don't know if you noticed in the movie, when the credits started, Alan Moore's name isn't on it.
Yeah.
Because Alan Moore does that for some reason.
He does not...
Every time anything he's ever written that gets adapted, he takes his name off of it. I don't know why.
He doesn't like being tied. He did that with almost everything. Every movie that they've made, he just does that, and it's unusual. He's one of those guys that just doesn't want to be lauded for.
It's because it's never a direct translation of his vision, so he always gets angry.
That could be too.
It's not 100%. It's not 100% exactly how he wrote it and how he did it. He's not going to like him. He's going to take some.
Yeah, and that's probably a very good reason to or why he does it. But the other thing, and I'll point this out for you guys who are listening and are listening later. There's an article, and I've seen several articles now about The Killing Joke, and a lot of them are complete garbage. And then one of them that I read, which is interesting because it really seemed like the interviewer was trying to take it down a road that the director didn't let it go down. But on Vulture.com, which is an interesting title for a blog or a TV and movie review site, there's an article behind the Batman: The Killing Joke, which came out on the 23rd, and they talked to the director about it, and one of the key questions I like is about why they added the original part with Barbara Gordon and why they decided to go with something that was so different. And the director explained two different things that makes the total sense. The first thing he said is that the movie would have been too short without more. Exactly. They needed to add more to it. He said, but the other part was because when he was and this makes sense because I don't read Batman, but I've read The Killing Joke. I have a few Batman comics, but I don't read Batman. So The Killing Joke comes out at a time where if fans are reading it, they're reading other Batman comics. So they understand the dynamic between Batman, Batgirl, Gordon, all the characters that are involved in this story. So there's an ongoing world. This is the thing that kills me about people that criticize The Killing Joke. The Killing Joke does not exist in a vacuum. It's not a graphic novel that was released with no context or no pre-story or backstory or after story or anything with these characters. So The Killing Joke comes out. Everybody who reads Batman knows who Barbara Gordon is. They know who Batgirl is. They know how Batgirl and Batman are interacting. They know this world that The Killing Joke is happening in. But like my wife never read Killing Joke doesn't read Batman comics, goes to the movie to see this with me because she's awesome. She has none of the context of the Killing Joke and what's going on in Batman's world at this time. So if they had just started the movie at the same time the comic book started, there would have been a lot of like this, the director was left with the sense of, why is Barbara Gordon there other than to give Batman something to do, which is why the Killing Joke is criticized for the women in refrigerators trope and blah blah blah, and all of that shit, when really it was Commissioner Gordon that was used to give Batman something to do. Barbara Gordon was hurt to hurt Commissioner Gordon, not to hurt Batman.
Yeah, also, they did end up making her paralyzation canon.
Yes.
Outside of it. It was very interesting. And she became Oracle. And then when the New 52 launched, they said, oh, her paralyzation wasn't permanent. It lasted 3 years. So,
yeah.
Because they wanted Batgirl to come back, and that was perfectly reasonable.
Right. And that pissed a lot of people off, and I can understand why, because DC had seemed to make a very concrete step to having a strong female character who took the circumstances of her life, as tragic as they were, and turned them into something awesome. Not only did they do that with a strong female character, but they gave readers a handicapped character who was still a superhero, who could still do all these great things and help save people and solve crime, and then they take all that away. Like, I can understand why people were pissed off about that, because that was kind of a shitty thing for DC to do.
And then Arrow did the same thing, and she lost her handicap in about 4 episodes.
Yeah, that's just that. I don't know. That's just like, have the balls to affect a character so dramatically as to paralyze him. Like, actually stick to it. Like, if you're going to do that to a character, stick to it. I have one of my first short stories out there, and to toot my own horn. I'm not going to say not to toot my own damn horn. In the first 20 or 30 words of my first short story that I published, I maimed my main character. I cut his hand off at the freaking forearm.
Oh.
And I've left it that way. Like,
127 houred him.
Yeah, I'm like, a lot of people read that like, I can't believe you did that to your main character. I'm like, why not? Well, it's because most people don't do that. Most writers and most publishing companies don't have the balls to irrevocably damage one of their characters and stick to it. You know, they paralyze.
Unless they go the extra and give him a really cool weapon on them they love.
Right. Yeah. In the case of my guy, he capped it with metal, and then he just has a hook to his shield, so he can still use his shield.
So there, yeah.
But
I gave him a weapon on the end of his arm.
Yeah, but
they
it's
do
his.
That when people lose their arms in most.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought a guy like him would do. So I irrevocably damaged the main character to a serial short story series that I write. And I've stuck to it because his arm's cut. What is he going to do? I'm not going to hand wave and go, oh, his arm grows back or magic or blah, blah, blah. No, his arm's cut off. It's gone. Boom. Like, have the balls to irrevocably damage your characters and then write stories about them living with that damage. In this case, it looked like DC was going to do that. They made Barbara Gordon Oracle for, like you said, 3 years or so.
No. When they relaunched New 52, they said her handicap only lasted 3 years.
Oh, gotcha. So, you know, like, it looked like they were going to stick to it, and then they didn't stick to it, which I can see why people were disappointed. But I also see why they did that in The Killing Joke, because I read The Killing Joke knowing that Batgirl existed outside The Killing Joke, and that's what a lot of people, they read this one book, and then they criticize this one book, and then they fail to comprehend that these characters exist outside The Killing Joke. Barbara Gordon is in The Killing Joke, and sure, she gets hurt in The Killing Joke, but she exists outside of that book before and after the events of it. So it's not like she was just put there to give Batman something to do. She is a character living in this world, and things happen to the characters living in this world. And again, she was hurt to hurt Commissioner Gordon, not to hurt Batman. As far as we know, Joker didn't know anything about the relationship between Batman and Batgirl. He only knew Barbara Gordon as Commissioner Gordon's daughter, and he did that to her so he could try to break Gordon, not so he could give Batman something to do.
My review of it's really,
yeah.
I'd say it's probably the best movie that I've seen in theaters this month. It probably will be the best movie I see in theaters this month, unless somehow Jason Bourne ends up being crazy fantastic, which probably won't be. I honestly think the marketers of that movie should have called it Born Again, because that would have been a perfect title. But moving on.
Yeah.
Seriously, how did no one come up with think that idea?
Yeah, that is surprising.
Out on a poster somewhere.
Yeah.
It is perfect. Born Again. It just would have worked. But moving on. The Killing Joke, the parts that were the Killing Joke, the thing was actually went into the actual comic book. That was one of the best adaptations ever. It's exactly how I imagined as I was reading it.
Yes.
I just instinctively, I'm reading the Joker. I just think Mark Hamill's voice.
Oh yeah.
So it fit because Mark Hamill was my favorite Joker. And any kid who grew up in the '90s would probably say the same thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so yeah, that part was really good. The thing with Barbara Gordon, them having sex, and that came out of fucking nowhere. That came out of nowhere. I was like, holy crap, they went there. Mm-hmm. My theater's pretty full. It was probably, I don't know, maybe about either it was at least half full, probably closer to 3/4.
Right.
It was a Monday night, so it's be why that might not, and it was not that big of a town. But so yeah, the whole audience just goes
right
when that happens. When she kisses him, they're like, holy shit.
Right.
And then she takes her top off, and they're like, holy shit.
Right. Yeah, and it was
no one saw that.
No, and it was very surprising, and I get like the director talked about, because they asked him about that because they wanted the interviewer seemed to really want to harp on whether they were trying to include things that should have been included, but yeah, it was, and it makes sense now. It didn't make as much sense then, so I'm not sure if the delivery was quite right on that, but he wanted to show, the director and the writers wanted to show that both Batman and Batgirl were making mistakes in their relationship with their dynamic, and that's what put them both in the position that they were at the beginning of the actual book.
Yes, she had retired from being Batgirl.
Yeah, and you know, he had driven her off because he was too overbearing, and he wasn't doing as good a job being a mentor as he should have been. Like,
and then they had sex.
Yeah, and both, like you said, the director and the writers really wanted to show how they were both really making mistakes, because they're both humans, so they were really making mistakes in their dynamic and their relationship going forward. Which put them in the position for Joker to take advantage of both of their vulnerabilities. Which
I should be noted, that was one of the enemy in the first part of that movie had the dumbest name, and they made a joke about it.
Yes,
his name was Paris Franz.
Yeah, and that was
make a joke about it. It's like,
that was
really, this cat, seriously, his name's really bad.
And they wanted to, and I guess I get what they wanted to do. They wanted to have the villain, the villain at the beginning, be sort of a street thug, not.
Yeah, they couldn't make it like the Penguin or something.
Yeah, they didn't want it to be somebody that might overshadow the Joker. Not that anybody could overshadow the Joker, but The Killing Joke is the movie about the Joker. And so to have another villain or one of the other rogues gallery, one of other Batman's rogues gallery in it, would have probably made it less impactful as a Joker story. So I can see why they did that. Yeah, it was a bad pun. But then again, he was a bad caricature. Not that he was a bad character, but he was a very smarmy, very stereotypical bad guy. Like, he was just a dick. Like,
also, it's clear that the Killing Joke in this timeline takes place in modern times. Not
yes,
because he had a video cell phone.
Right. Yeah, it definitely happens. They modernized some of the technology, definitely, from the original book. The other thing I like to point out, and I like that they did this. Well, I think, and here's the one thing that the beginning of the book, or the beginning of the movie, kind of took away from what the book, to me anyway, was about. Reading The Killing Joke, I realized very quickly that The Killing Joke story is not about Batman. It is very much about the Joker and his origin and his decline and his desire to not feel, because the whole point, if you guys didn't get this when you're watching or when you read the book, the whole point behind why the Joker does what he does in The Killing Joke is he wants to show that anybody can be broken like he was broken.
With one bad day.
Yeah, anybody with one bad day can be broken like he was broken. and so he goes out of his way to try to break Gordon, somebody who he thinks, I mean, Gordon is supposed to be the quintessential good guy in the whole Batman mythos. He is the bright shining light of law and justice, whereas Batman is this dark, will do what needs to be done to get the bad guy kind of guy. Gordon is really the good guy in the story. And so Joker's wanting to show that he can even break him. So the Joker's not that bad if Gordon can be broken. So that's the whole point.
I like some of the little details about this adaptation, the little small changes they made.
Yep.
Like Harvey Dent scratching the outside
that was cool.
Of his thing because he dropped his quarter. First of all, they let him have it. They let him have that thing.
Yeah.
Jail cell.
That was neat.
They were then dicks to him and not give it back.
Not right. They both totally ignore it. Like, he clearly needs that coin, and they just kind of walk by.
I mean, he's probably severely hurting his hand by scratching the outside of the wall.
Yeah.
And then the scene with the Joker with Batman in that overpass under that overpass, talking to the prostitutes.
Yep.
That was actually really interesting. I found that to be really interesting.
It made the Joker seem more human, I think.
Yeah, he breaks out of jail and then immediately goes to have sex with prostitutes before it even hits the news.
Because he's still a person. He's still he's locked away by himself with no human interaction. So the first thing he decides to go do is find some artificial love. It makes his character a little sad.
You think that's just a natural human thing. Once you get out of prison, what's one of the first things that you want to do? And
since the Joker is not a normal person and he doesn't have anybody in his life, that's where he goes, and that's what the Killing Joke does. Is it tries to take this character who is so unbelievably evil, and make you realize that even as evil as the Joker is, as bad as this dude is, there is a part of him that is just sad, that there's an empathy that you almost have to have for somebody like that. And obviously if Joker...
Well, if his backstory they show is actually what really happened to him. Not just
right.
If it is the real thing, you feel really bad for him what happened to him.
Yeah.
He's pregnant, his wife that was pregnant, was 6 months pregnant, dies in a 1,000,000-to-1 accident fire.
Right, yeah. And so that just... And there's an intent behind there that I think Alan Moore had, and they carried it through with this movie, which I think was great. And it's, like I said, unfortunately, the first 20 minutes kind of pull you away from that and make it more a movie about Batman and Batgirl, when it really is a story about Joker. And so hopefully people got that. Hopefully people who didn't read the book got that. Having read the book myself, I knew that the first part was added, that it was extra. I don't know, and I'll have to ask my wife after this to see if that part, because that just hit me, because I remember reading The Killing Joke and going, this is not a Batman book. It's not about Batman. But I don't know if that came across as clearly in the movie because of all the added stuff with Batgirl. I'm afraid that they might have pulled away from that a little bit. So yeah, I'm with you. Fantastic movie. Definitely the best I've seen this month. Has been fairly lackluster. I haven't seen Star Trek yet.
I recommend seeing the BFG. It was very good. Delightful.
Cool. We'll have to check that out.
It's not as good as The Killing Joke, but it's very good.
Right.
Very delightful. If you're a fan of the original book, you really like the movie.
Good. So definitely go see that. Anything else you want to say about The Killing Joke?
I just amazed by Mark Hamill's performance and Kevin Conroy's performance. They both
were great.
Really good.
And Tara Strong, they were.
Yeah, she had played Batgirl. See, I confused her. Last week I thought Tara Strong voiced Harley Quinn. No, she voiced Harley Quinn in the Arkham games.
Yes.
Yes. She didn't voice Tara Strong. Tara Strong did not voice Harley Quinn in the animated series. That was somebody else. She voiced the Batgirl, so they got her back to play Batgirl as well.
Yeah, and they were all great. The casting was great. The only and I almost forgot this. The only real criticism I had was the animation was not quite as good as I expected. There were some wonderful moments in the animation, but there were also some parts where it wasn't that great, and that was a little disappointing.
I didn't see that, but I also, one thing I'm interested is, are they trying to make The Killing Joke a new DC animated universe thing, because they ended on like a setup thing,
right?
And becoming Oracle.
Yep, they did. So
are they going forward with this? Are they going to do more movies within the same universe as The Killing Joke? I mean,
that could be very interesting, and it would be neat to see a more gritty, dark. I mean, I know we've seen dark Batman in the movies, and we've seen a dark Batman in the games, but as an animated franchise, Batman's pretty much been very child friendly. Other than a couple of hits here and there, for the most part, Batman's been a very child friendly animated series. So it'd be interesting to see if they did that. But yeah, they totally set up Oracle at the end, and that's probably the other criticism that I had. I'm glad they did it after the credits, because that's the one thing that
halfway through the credits, but
yeah, the Killing Joke intentionally ends the way it ends so that people ask, and right away. And this is funny because I let a buddy of mine read the book, and that was one of the first things he talks about is the way the book ends. It just kind of ends, and he's like, "But what happens?" I'm like, "Exactly what happens. That's the point." So the movie ends, and my wife Julie looks at me and she goes, "Wait, is that it? It just ended?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what happened. It just ends." Well, what happens? We don't know. That's the question.
That's one of the longest questions everyone's asked.
Right. And that is, I love that they kept that. I love that they didn't try to show a continue. They didn't show Joker back in Arkham. They didn't show Batman digging a hole. Like, they didn't give you any closure. And I'm glad they did that, because that's the point. That is the entire intention behind the end of The Killing Joke. Was to show two adversaries share a moment and then leave you wondering how that moment ended. Because even in the movie, and I love that they did this, when the rainwater darkened under their feet, it almost looked red, but was it red?
Like, and they also didn't have the cops approaching like in the comic book.
Yeah, they didn't have that. But I'm watching it, and I'm intentionally watching to see if they turn that water red. And I don't know if it was just my mind going, yeah, it looks kind of red, or it was just a trick of the eyes or whatever. So I love that they ended it on that note where it was like, what actually happened? Because we don't know. We don't know what happens after they both share a little laugh. And that's a question that I hope nobody ever tries to answer. I hope Alan Moore never comes out and says what happens at the end of Killing Joke.
Yeah, and also there's that they do a kitschy kind of. I have the Ultimate Edition of
yes,
The Killing Joke. It ends. There's a little written thing at the end. He says, "I'm going to tell you what happens at the end of it," and then he stops mid-sentence.
Yeah,
they don't want to tell you what happened.
Yep, I love that. I love that whole thing. So yeah, real quick, that's our Killing Joke Conk. It was a great movie. I agree with Russell. Go see it.
It's not in theaters anymore.
Yeah, unless you're watching right now. Some places, our theater got a second showing, which is actually happening tonight at 10.
Oh, my theaters did 2 showings within them on the same night.
Yeah, some theaters, because ours got so many ticket pre-sales that they did a second night. So if yours did a second night, go freaking see it. If you can't see it,
catch the 10
that.
o'clock showing if you're on the East Coast. Other bits of news: Miss Cleo died, cancer.
Yeah.
The fake psychic lady.
Yep, and I just got to say this because I just watched it. I watched it in one day. Watch Stranger Things.
I heard it's good. I'm currently in the middle of BoJack Horseman, so I'll catch on to that when I can.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, if you have Netflix, or you can get somebody with Netflix, or you can go binge watch it with somebody, 8 episodes of the best. Yeah, 8-hour-long episodes of the best 80s nostalgia. Oh, wow. Just imagine you're watching...
we didn't talk about the trailers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. We forgot about... We'll get to those here in a second, too.
Let's talk about this couple of small things.
Yes.
Things is good. So is BoJack Horseman. Watch both of those.
Yes.
Also, my favorite movie blog, I Watch Stuff, my favorite movie blog.
Yes.
It's ending this Friday, unfortunately. But let's talk about the trailers. There were several trailers at Comic-Con. There was Lego Batman. There was Wonder Woman. There was like a teaser kind of trailer for Justice League. They're still filming it clearly, so there's parts of it. And then there was also... It came out like the day after Comic-Con, but Doctor Strange trailer 2 came out. So we have 4 trailers. The Lego Batman trailer looks... Have you seen it?
No, I have not seen that one yet.
Good. It makes. I'm definitely seeing that movie.
Cool.
Their adding is so good. You go see the trailer. It's really good.
Good.
Michael Cera's voice is playing Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Will Arnett reprising his role as Lego Batman from the Lego movie.
Nice.
Okay. Wonder Woman trailer. Wasn't that awesome?
You didn't like it?
No, I'm saying, wasn't it awesome?
Oh, wasn't it? Okay, yes. I think, I hope, I pray DC has learned from the last two movies. Because, the Wonder Woman trailer looked interesting. It looked fun. It looked exciting. It wasn't too dark.
They still have to explain why she wears the American flag on her body when she's from Amazonia?
Yeah. Well, and
the 2009 Wonder Woman movie found a way to explain that. Her costume came from it's a rule of Amazon custom that whenever you visit a country, you have to wear their colors in their uniform.
Yeah.
That was their reasoning. But Justice League never tried to explain it.
No.
The animated show never tried to explain it. These movies probably wouldn't touch it.
No, and she doesn't wear. She wears red, white, and blue, sort of, but she doesn't wear she doesn't have the star-spangled underwear, like she has in some of the depictions. The really, honestly, and this goes with everything that we're talking about, whether it be the Killing Joke or the Wonder Woman trailer. There are some articles out there from some really unfun people who just don't like good things. I've read far too many articles that say that yes, Wonder Woman looks like a strong female character, but you know what? Screw that shit. Looks like a great character. She looks like she can kick some ass. I love the costumes. I love so far the scenes that we've seen in the trailers. I mean, God's forbid that these guys write a character from a fictional Amazonian tribe who dresses like these fictional Amazonians who probably got their armor and dress from the Greeks and the Romans of the time. But, how dare they? I mean, come the frack on, people. It's Wonder Woman. She's going to kick ass whether she's in a kilt or a skirt or a bodysuit or armor or whatever. And
they're doing Vulture, by the way, in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Are they doing? Okay, very cool.
Without Michael Keaton, though, because Michael Keaton decided not to do it for some reason.
That would be really weird after him doing Birdman or
I know, that's
whatever.
Probably why his name was floated.
Probably,
but,
yeah.
My favorite movie blog I watched up, which as I said is ending Friday. They had a great headline with the Wonder Woman trailer. Wonder Woman trailer here to crash Captain America's shield-loving, World War fighting patriarchy.
Oh, God.
Because she's in a world war and she has a shield. Which is what Captain America did.
Why does it always got to be?
Probably why they moved it to World War One.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be aping Captain, even though her love interest was in World War II.
Right, and she switched
and was in the Air Force.
She switched bodies with a nurse, right? And she switched bodies with a nurse or something. And I've read the backstory of Wonder Woman because I've read some Wonder Woman stuff, but not like her origin.
She just doesn't age. She's like Wolverine. She just doesn't age anywhere near as quickly. I think that's probably how they're. It's like with Thor. He's like 1,000 years old, and he's only like 40 in body.
Yeah. So, what did you think about the Justice League trailer?
Everything looked good, except for Cyborg. Clearly, that must be early special effects. He doesn't look perfect. He doesn't look quite right yet.
Yeah.
But Cyborg, I like that they went with Cyborg as part of the Justice League.
Yeah.
Although it does complicate them ever doing a Teen Titans thing. Do you ever watch the Teen Titans animated show?
I caught it because when it was popular, my son was young enough to watch it, so I watched it whenever he watched it.
It was really good.
Yeah, from what I saw, it was actually for a animated superhero show geared toward really young kids. It was done very well.
Yeah. DC knows how to make animated television shows. They do.
Yeah.
It's their bread and butter. They know that better than because Marvel's animated shows weren't always very good. X-Men was good, and X-Men Evolution. The two X-Men shows were good, but the rest then hit or miss.
Yeah,
most of the DC animated shows were very good. Static Shock was wonderful. Zeta Project wasn't. That's the black sheep no one likes to talk about.
Right, yeah.
It technically took place in the DC animated universe.
Wow.
No one cares about that show.
That's one I never saw.
It got a backdoor pilot in an episode of Batman Beyond.
There was a couple things about Justice League's trailer that concerned me. A couple things that were weird. the fact that we don't see Superman, I mean, I know Superman's going to be in it. They're clearly...
Hopefully he doesn't have a mullet.
Well, yeah, and we know Superman's not dead. I don't know if they intentionally left him out of the trailer because we're supposed to imagine he's dead, but we all know he's not dead.
The movie Batman v Superman ends with the dirt shifting up.
Yeah, we know he's not dead. So stop trying to be coy. Maybe they're not putting him in there because they haven't filmed anything with Henry Cavill yet.
He'll come in the third act when the big fight scene or whatever at some point during the movie. There'll be some major fight scene, and when all hope seems lost, all of a sudden he'll show up and boom.
Right.
He'll maybe have a beard or something.
He'll come down from the heavens like Jesus and save everybody. It's like, you know what? So far
that's how you do that.
Right. But so far they haven't depicted him like that. So, you know, he's always been freaking sociopath man. So I don't know. The other thing that got me is I don't understand why Bruce Wayne is using his Batman voice when he doesn't have the mask on. I don't remember Bruce Wayne in Batman vs Superman using the Batman voice as Bruce Wayne. But through that whole trailer, he was...
I don't remember that.
Yeah, watch the trailer again. Every time especially like he's talking to the Flash when he's recruiting him, because that's like the longest scene between with Batman in it, with Bruce Wayne in it, and the whole time like he's in his suit, he's Bruce Wayne. And he's like, "Oh, you gotta come join." You know, he's using his freaking Batman voice, and I'm watching it going, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't know why he's doing that. And I thought it was odd that they didn't use the guy from the Flash TV show. And clearly, I guess that's
because they don't want to take place in the same. They don't take place in the same universe. It needs to be very hard to explain. Because I think they don't want to. They don't want to put in the same timeline as that, because they'd have to explain Superman being around.
Yeah,
that's probably why they don't want to do it. Although,
I guess
with Supergirl coming to the CW now, it's gonna be confusing.
It will be
confusing,
and I think that's gonna be something that's, I don't know, maybe not hurt DC, because right now, other than a couple shows, the one thing that Marvel has got going for it is that the movies and the TV shows happen in the same universe. And if there is any crossover, like they avoid crossover to the point where they need to put a character, like you're not going to see any of the Avengers in any of the Netflix stuff, but they'll talk about them. They talk about the green monster that blew up New York, or the god that came down from the sky with the hammer and lightning, but they don't bring the characters into it. Whereas with DC, they avoid talking about those characters. And then they bring him into the other franchises, like you're bringing Flash into the movies, but it's not the same character. So I don't know if that's going to hurt him or not, because with Marvel, it's very easy to imagine they're all living in the same world, whereas DC, it's going to be like, no, the TV guys are completely separate.
They're letting them exist by their own.
Yeah.
The thing with the Flash being around, they can go ahead and be all confusing and everything. They're both, right. But isn't the Flash also Barry Allen?
Yes.
So they can't be in the same universe. We already know that. If they were different Flashes, they could, but they can't do that.
Yeah. That's true too, because there's been three or four different Flashes.
Wally West, Garrick, Jay Garrick, Barry Allen.
Yeah,
and I know there's a couple others
in the TV show. In the TV show, I think they've even crossed over a couple of them already, which is
Jay Garrick in a different timeline.
Yeah, like there was some sort of split thing, and that's how they crossed over Supergirl or something too.
Because of different timelines. Yeah, I think that's also how they explained how he saw Supergirl, because it's a different reality.
Right. Yeah.
That's what their excuse can be whenever they want to do anything.
Yep. So check out the trailers. Again, I have more hope for Wonder Woman than I do for Justice League so far, but they're both teasers, so it's hard to say.
Suicide Squad though looks really fucking good.
That does. So yeah, I have not seen. Is there a new trailer? I don't think there's a new trailer.
It's like a
recently.
Soundtrack remix thing that I didn't watch because it sounded stupid.
Yeah,
I didn't watch that. I'm just gonna go see the movie. The movie looks really good. I'm definitely gonna see it.
It does.
Maybe we'll finally get a movie where Jai Courtney's not terrible.
Yeah, and I hope we get a DC movie that is entertaining, as opposed to mostly depressing and sort of eh.
Well, the most entertaining one since Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, I mean, we need something.
Or Dark Knight, depending on where you fall on that spectrum. I liked Man of Steel too, so. But
yeah. So hopefully we get hopefully, and we'll be talking about that on the show as soon as it comes out. I got a guest lined up already. Big Harley Quinn fan. She is ready to tell us what she thinks about the new Harley Quinn. So
Margot Robbie's definitely using the sexuality of the later Harley Quinn.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what some people do. So you may as well write the stories that really happen. So yeah, that's pretty much our show. Go see the trailers. Go get The Killing Joke on DVD when it comes out next week. Pre-order it tomorrow if you want it that bad. I recommend it because then you don't have to wait it. Oh, is it tonight? Good. Pre-order.
You can pre-order it whenever you want because it's just you can just pre-order it.
Don't they start? I thought they had a time where they start.
No,
like
you can pre-order pretty much. Like some movies are up on pre-order like the weekend they come out in theaters.
Oh wow!
Because Amazon just allows you to do that.
Yeah, I've never done anything quite that early, but yeah. So yeah, get it on pre-order. Get it when it comes out next week. Watch it. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're a fan of the book.
Yeah, that part of the story. Once that starts, it's almost pitch perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and if you like our show, subscribe. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, subscribe. We're trying to get to those 100 subscribers. Let us know what you think in the comments or chat or on Twitter. You can catch me at TJ Biersbach. You can catch Russell at Russell Michaels if you want to type it, or TGBED8V8 because I'm remembering it now.
It's an acronym for a story I wrote.
Yes.
That's why it's.
So check it out. Let us know what you think. Ask questions. Put it in the comments, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us. You guys rock.
Peace out.